a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live on a Monday, January 6th, 2020. I need a haircut. You really think this looks good?
I think it looks good.
I don't think it looks good. I think my Jufro is out of control. But I digress. More important things to discuss. Listen, we're pretty much at war. I mean, that's the most important thing. Obviously, we're going to be leading with that. We are less than 30 days away from the Iowa caucus. So huge new poll, which if you look at the poll that just came out with CBS, I believe it possibly has the most convincing case that Bernie Sanders possibly, not guaranteed, could be in the best position to take the Democratic nomination if certain things happen. So we're going to get into that. We have some great original reporting. Marcus has been burning the midnight oil out in Iowa for us. He challenged Amy Klobuchar the other day. He's been challenging Warren supporters, Klobuchar supporters, Biden supporters. So we're going to have some of those for you. Of course, I covered the other day a protest of the Iran war. So we got a lot to discuss. And as always, you guys help us make it happen here. So press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. Right now we got 230 viewers. So if everybody watching could just press that thumbs up button right under the live stream, it helps us get the live stream into more people's feeds that don't currently see it. If you don't know, YouTube is really screwing us as far as not notifying viewers. So you could join our text alert system. It's very simple. You just text 474747 and enter Coup, C-O-U-P. The more people we could get on that text list, we can start notifying you every time we're live. We're starting to see more people saying, hey, I didn't get a YouTube notification, but I got the text, so I'm here. That's what we want. We want to be able to work around the YouTube delays where, if we're lucky, YouTube will notify you we're live the next decade. Follow us on Status Coup on Periscope and Twitter. We're live there right now. Follow us at twitch.tv/Status Coup and enter your email. statuscoup.com makes a big difference. We got to grow that as well. And of course, if you're feeling super, even at a time of war, let us know in the super chat. Very important. We got to get more funding to stay out there on the campaign trail. We're now at, I didn't put it in. We're now at 766 Status Coup members. So, hey, let's get a few of you today. statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. And we're going to have our members call Thursday. So today is, what's today, Monday?
Monday.
We're going to have our monthly members call Thursday. We're going to do 2 this month because we did not do 1 in December. So we got to make up. And we're going to have 2 in the month of January. So if you are a member, you're going to be delighted to 2 monthly video calls this month. statuscoup.com/join. So let's get right into it. I mean, it's very hard to like update you on the war because every hour there is a new insane development. Donald Trump's Twitter is scaring the living bejesus out of me. I'll tell you that much. But the most updated thing, if you missed it, basically the Iraqi parliament, not Iran, Iraq parliament, voted to expel the U.S. and the U.S. troops out of Iraq. My first question, I thought we left Iraq. Didn't Obama do this whole big production about us ending war in Iraq? But of course, America, no. We're not really a one-night stand kind of gal. We like to commit. You know what I mean? We like to commit. I'm looking to the right to my beautiful girlfriend, by the way. Not my imaginary friend. But we don't like one-night stands in America. Even when we say we are ending the war, we leave 5,000 troops. So this whole notion that we left Iraq is nonsense. We never left Iraq. We actually built more bases since, quote, leaving Iraq. So Iraq, who is furious about what happened in the assassination of Soleimani, has voted to expel U.S. troops. But apparently, President Trump and his military people, when a sovereign country, Iraq is a sovereign country, says, get out. We don't want you here anymore. President Trump and the U.S., because this is what imperialism is, we don't listen. So apparently, the defense secretary has just said that, about leaving, we don't really have any plans to leave Iraq. This is U.S. Defense Chief Mark Esper. The United States has no plan to pull out militarily from Iraq. Defense Secretary Mark Esper told Pentagon reporters on Monday, following reports a U.S. military letter about preparation for a withdrawal. Quote, there's been no decision whatsoever to leave Iraq, Esper said. When asked about this letter, which apparently a commander or somebody wrote a letter, it was supposed to go out, but not, it wasn't supposed to go out yet, but it accidentally went out. So they had to kind of backtrack on the letter saying that they were withdrawing troops from Iraq. The defense secretary said there's been no decision made to leave Iraq, period. The letter, cited by news agencies, was purportedly sent to the Iraqi military by U.S. Marine Corps Brigadier General William H. Seeley, commanding general of Task Force Iraq, the U.S.-led military coalition against ISIS. A top U.S. general told reporters that the letter was a poorly worded draft document meant to only underscore increased movement of forces. Quote, poorly worded, implies withdrawal. That's not what's happening. U.S. Army General Mark Miley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, told a group of reporters, quote, this was a mistake, blah, 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 blah. So, putting aside whether the letter was supposed to go out, whether it wasn't supposed to go out, really doesn't matter to me. But do you understand? Am I telling you anything you don't know? And by the way, just as a reminder, we got 400 people watching already. 214 of you fine people have pressed that like button. If an extra 200 people press the like button, it's that thumbs up button right under the video, the more people will see it. That's how YouTube's algorithm works. So press that thumbs up button right under the video. Even if you don't like me, just fake it. I don't really care. So, and this is a super chat if you're feeling super. So let's get this straight, because we're taught in grade school that we fled the British because of the oppression and we wanted freedom, and they were a tyrannical government. The Iraq is telling us to leave, putting aside the fact that we were lied to that we left already. Did you know we still had over 5,000 troops in Iraq? What do they call that? Residual forces. Oh, they're not, those aren't soldiers that are at war. We just like to stay and, take in a movie in these countries forever. So they're telling us to leave, and Trump and his generals say, yeah, no, we have no plans to leave. What would you call that? That's imperialism. This is a sovereign country. whether you think it's a good thing that we took out this Iranian commando, who some people say, I interviewed Ben Norton from the Gray Zone, the stature of this commander is the equivalent of, if Iran took out Mike Pence here. Some people say Mike Pence. I've heard the Secretary of State. I've heard the chairman of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But either way, this was the number 2 in Iran. So you have Iraq saying, you need to leave, and Trump administration saying, hell no. You also have Donald Trump, literally on Twitter, openly saying, I'm going to commit multiple war crimes. I mean, the United States already commits war crimes, but it's not explicitly spelled out on Twitter that we're going to. So, if you don't know, it is a crime, a war crime, illegal, to target cultural sites in war. Donald Trump has said, the U.S., we just took out your basic, like the godfather of Iran, other than the Ayatollah, and if you dare respond, you sovereign country, Iran. Thank you, Kelly Elaine, getting us started. $10 in the super chat. Happy New Year, Kelly. Thank you for the continued support. If you dare to respond to our aggression, we're going to target 52 of your state sites. For the significance of that number is the amount of Americans that were held hostage during the Iranian hostage crisis, and cultural sites. And then Trump says, oh, they get to do things to us. They get to murder our Americans and target our people, but we don't get to target their cultural sites. That's not how it works. No, in fact, if we followed international law, that's exactly how it works. And by the way, I'm not saying Iran does not have blood on its hands. I'm not saying Soleimani was a good person, but Iran did not attack the United States here. Iran, by all accounts, I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but by all accounts, Iran was following the Iran deal, nuclear deal, which is one of the few good things Obama did. So, Iran did not attack us. This is not a defensive action. This is an offensive action. And you have the same morons on CNN, on MSNBC, in the pages of the New York Times. Seth Peterson, $55 in the super chat. Thank you, Status Coup team. Your reporting is very much needed these days. Thank you, Seth. By the way, I don't know if Jen got back to you. I know you emailed us. I want to speak with you. So email info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com, Seth. Reach out. Let me know your number because I want to thank you. You've donated so many times. I'd love to personally thank you. But thank you for that kind amount, $55. So it's just incredible to me. You got Judith Miller on Fox News. She should be in jail. You have... David Frum was just on with Brian Stelter, this guy who helped cheerlead us into Iraq. Meanwhile, you have New York Times articles going out there saying, oh, is Trump's gamble going to pay off? Talking about the strategy of it all. Not talking about the fact that now Iran is openly saying we are going to, not only are we going to retaliate, we are going to target American citizens. We're going to target American cities. And, I mean, if you want to get into Trump's head, is he doing this to distract from impeachment? Is he doing this to get reelected? Is he doing this because he was just bored one day? Who knows? Thank you, Chester Williams, $5 in the super chat. Sent Trump to The Hague. Send Trump somewhere where he doesn't have his hands on the nuclear button. Thank you for the super chat. But what I want to get at here, I think, before I get to that, let's also give you the update. Chuck Schumer suddenly cares about the Constitution and international law. The Senate Minority Leader, Schumer, said on Monday that the chamber Senate will have to vote on a resolution limiting President Trump's ability to take military action against Iran. Schumer, speaking for the Senate floor, noted that Senator Tim Kaine had introduced a war powers resolution that would require Trump to withdraw U.S. troops from hostilities against Iran within 30 days without congressional sign-off. Quote, the resolution will be privileged, so it'll have to come to the floor, Schumer said. My colleagues, we're going to vote on it. So what's interesting about this, let's move from the Senate to the House. I just interviewed Shahid Buttar. He's a constitutional attorney, a organizer, activist out of San Francisco. He's also running against Nancy Pelosi for her congressional seat in California's 12th district. Definitely check out that interview. Definitely progressive, happens to be Muslim. So I didn't even know this. So I learned a lot just from interviewing candidates. Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna helped sneak in to the defense authorization bill, that $738 billion stain on morality that is the defense budget. Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna helped sneak in there restraint, a provision that would have blocked Trump from doing exactly what he just did. Basically starting a war with Iran. This is a war. You don't just take out the number 2 in Iran and they retaliate and then it's over. No, this is a war. So Nancy Pelosi took that out. She just took that out. Why would Nancy Pelosi take out of the defense an amendment out of the defense bill from Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna to limit Trump's ability to start a war in Iran? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you keep it in there and make the Senate negotiate? That's because the Democratic Party has not seen wars they don't love either. And by the way, when Chuck Schumer says, well, now because it's Trump, we need to have a vote, and it needs to come to Congress. Well, I didn't hear Chuck Schumer, I didn't hear Nancy Pelosi say a damn word when Barack Obama was illegally waging war on Syria. Yes, when you send American troops to a sovereign country, which Obama did, without getting approval or a vote from Congress, that's a war. Barack Obama went to Syria unilaterally to wage war for regime change of Assad. I didn't hear Chuck Schumer say a word. Where is Obama? Why isn't he going to Congress? We're going to have to vote. We're going to have to, have a vote to limit Obama's ability to do this. I didn't hear Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or anybody in the Democratic Party, of course not the Republican Party either, say a word. Wait a minute. Why has Barack Obama didn't go to Congress to ask if we could aid Saudi Arabia in dropping bombs on Yemenis children in school buses and Yemenis children and women at weddings? How come there was no hubbubaloo then? And by the way, I'm not trying to equate the Democrats with Trump right now. Trump is the one doing this. I'm just saying the whole system, the whole back and forth is smoke and mirrors. The Democrats don't care about the Constitution. They have let Obama illegally send us and keep us in war. The only Democrat, other than Bernie, that has been pushing to actually reassert Congress's authority is Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee has been in the leading forefront to reestablish, what do they call that, the AMUMF? Authorization for Military Force, which has been open-ended since aftermath of 9/11. So, excuse me if I'm not cheering Chuck Schumer now. Oh, we need to vote in the Senate to limit Trump's ability to wage war in Iran. Well, you didn't say that when Obama was illegally entangling us in Syria and Yemen. Let me make sure I get you super chats. Sly Bean first, $5. Trump did drain the swamp. Too bad he found his cabinet at the bottom of it. Love your work, Jordan. That is true. And now we got Mr. Mustache, John Bolton, saying he's willing to testify in a Senate impeachment hearing. So, boy, the plot thickens, let me tell you. Thank you, Slybean First, for the wonderful super chat. Joan Miller, $10. Great war coverage, Jordan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Blackfa, 508, $2. Iran said they wouldn't target civilians. That's not what I read. That's not what I read, Blackfa, 508.
You missed a super chat. Michael Cooper said you missed it.
Oh, did I? Okay. That's not what I read, Blackfa, but thank you for the super chat. Akeem Oniram, $5. USA's 9/11 brain has made us adopt terrorism tactics. Bernie is the only one who I trust to end these war. We need sane foreign policy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Couldn't agree more. Chester Williams, I already got you. Michael Cooper, I don't see no Michael.
Yeah, who told you? Someone left a super chat during the counter.
Oh, okay. I'll go back. Oh, by the way, do you like my Golden Girls mug? Love it. I actually got it from my girlfriend, but she doesn't use it, so I'm going to use it. So, 600 people watching, by the way. So, here we got 378 of you have pressed that like button. So, the more people that press that like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. So, I want to play an interview for you. I'm sorry for those of you who have already seen it, but this, to me, says it all, right? So, I was covering a protest the other day, and actually my girlfriend was with me, and she was like, oh, you got to come over here. She found a wonderful Vietnam veteran who had a flag. I have to order this flag. And on the flag wasn't the stars and the stripes. It was just corporate logos. And I think, oh, they say they want to see you. I think this man will say it much better than I can. Let's listen to some of what this great Vietnam vet had to say. I love your flag with all the corporations.
That's the new America.
Tell me about what you're trying to get across with basically all these corporations. I've always called it the United Corporations of America. So
I've got the flag at Occupy Wall Street right after that. It's who owns America now. It's who makes the laws. It's corporate America. I mean, they've got the money to lobby. They got the money to do everything. The common citizens got nothing. We've got to get money out of politics if we want to fix our republic. That's simple.
And do you think Trump is doing this essentially? I mean, he's already said we want their oil, but do you think he's doing this to distract for re-election, to get more funding from the Raytheons, the Lockheed Martins?
Well, Eisenhower said it the best, I think, in 1954 or 56 when he was leaving office. Beware of the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is what fuels our economy. If we don't buy bullets, bombs, and planes and warships, we don't have a viable economy. So up until the time we stop that, we will never have a viable economy. That's simple.
And what they're doing right now, it's almost like setting your house on fire, you getting out, and then you retaliating, and us saying, well, they're coming after us, forgetting the fact that we initiated it. It's like we continue to do this offensive actions, not defense, and then when other countries retaliate, our propaganda machine, which is the corporate media too, say, well, we're just defending ourselves.
Well, we're selling war, and the average American doesn't look past the headlines. They sold the Iraq War. The Iraq War was based on lies. Vietnam was based on lies. And if you try to tell people what the history of Vietnam, Iraq, and all the rest, they don't want to hear it. They put their hands over the ears and go la 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 la. So the only way you're going to change this, is you've got to seriously sit down and educate people.
And tell me about your service and what you kind of learned from that, because obviously a lot of your views are informed from your personal experience.
Well, I joined the military, went to basic 1965 January, went to Vietnam 1 December 1967, got out in 30 November 1968. After a year of going to one too many funerals and visiting one too many broken bodies into St. Albans Naval Hospital, I joined the anti-war movement. And I've been a member of the Vietnam Veterans Against America, or Veterans for Peace Forever.
And do you think the soldiers today, because I've spoken with a lot of soldiers that, they don't want to go on camera, but they're kind of disgusted. You're supposed to be fighting for the principles that you learn about in grade school, but you're kind of fighting so that we could kind of keep greasing the wheels of corporate America. And I mean, in America, you have, look at Standing Rock and these kinds of things where police are protecting oil companies. It looks like America's military is being used for exactly the opposite of what our Constitution says it's supposed to be used for.
Well, I don't remember who did the survey, but I don't remember who did it. But they did a survey of Iraq and Afghanistan vets, and like 79 or 80%, something like that, all said they thought the Iraq and Iran war was wrong, and they should have never been involved, and it was a giant mistake. And it was a poll done by some famous Pew or somebody like that. And the reason most veterans don't want to get involved, because it's not easy to go against the norm. If you're an anti-war protester, just like in the 60s, they hate you. That's simple.
And what's interesting to me, obviously the focus is on Trump right now, but the Democratic Party just gave him a check for $738 billion, which is insane. It's more than the next 10 countries combined. I didn't hear the Democratic Party say anything. Last year, he quietly sent 2,500 troops to the Middle East to fight.
That's simple.
So save jobs, but risk lives.
There you go. And vets, guys in the military are an expendable quantity. They're only starting to take care of guys now. When I came home in '68, the VA didn't really take care of art for getting the kids. That's simple.
You hear any candidates speaking to these issues that actually could do something?
Tulsi Gabbard, 100%, and Bernie Sanders. All the rest of them are just corporate shills. Start taking money from corporations and billionaires, you can never get my vote.
I got my issues, some issues with Tulsi, but the thing that stands out to me, I mean, look what they've done to her just for speaking out against this. They make her a Russian asset.
Of course she's a Russian asset, because she's against the mainstream. If you're against the mainstream, you're a communist running pinko. That's simple. A socialist. They don't even know what socialism is. They don't know why America is so against socialism. And it's because corporate America says, if they get unions and they have workers' rights, we're screwed. We won't make the profits.
Well, I always say we already are a socialist country, just for the rich.
This getting here, the original people that got here was all social. They bought a boat together. They formed towns together. It's all socialism. Getting across the country to the west was all a socialist activity.
Right. And lastly, what's your message? Because whether it's Tulsi, whether it's Bernie, they're both trying to get younger voters out. They're both trying to get people who, traditionally might be asleep, not into politics, too cynical. What's your message to the younger generation who, I mean, war affects everybody, but...
Just pay attention. Don't believe, research what anybody tells you before you believe it. That's simple.
What's your name?
John.
Thank you, John, and thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Yeah. Can I see your flag one more time? So, come around. That way. So you got the United Corporations of America right in front of you.
Turn it upside down. It's the international signal for this.
Google, Chevron. So many powerful things said.
What stood out the most? Very simply, get our troops out of Iraq, out of Iran, and out of the Middle East altogether.
And I don't know, I'm old enough. This is like, I just woke up from 2003, nothing different. It's like the same exact playbook.
Well, I'm 22. I was born in '97, so...
You know what happened in 1997?
Tell me.
Third Eye Blind's first CD came out. Anyway, go ahead.
Great band. All right, so I grew up in the shadow of 9/11 and the Iraq-Afghanistan wars. And I was told my whole life that the U.S. was a paragon of justice and diplomacy unparalleled by anybody else around the world. We are the deliverers of freedom and liberty across the planet. That is a lie. That is a lie we learn, and justified every day. We are vindicated in that lie every single day. Turn on the news and see U.S. missiles landing on Yemen. Turn on the news and see U.S. missiles landing on civilians all over the world. No justice, no peace, get our troops out of Iraq.
Very, obviously you're passionate. You know what's interesting to me? Why aren't we taking out Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman if we're so worried about terrorists around the world? Is it because we could get his oil?
It's because we have a strong and long cultured history with the Saudis, because we play games with them and they play games with us. It's a tit and tat. We give them money, they give our money. It's not us and them. It's really like them and our ruling class. It's not me and you, Jordan. It's the ruling class. It's David Koch. It's the Walton family, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. It's them, not us, that benefit from these illegal offensive wars. And the first target should be Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. The first target if we're going to attack anyone.
What's your name?
Jonathan.
Don't have a heart attack, you're too young.
Hey, local Teamsters 97, nursing 5030, New Jersey.
All right, I'm worried about you. Stay
If you
strong.
enjoyed that last video, hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. So that was just some of the voices from protests I covered in New York the other day. There were obviously protests in D.C. and Los Angeles, other parts of the country. I worry about that guy a little bit. You know, he's too young. I don't want him to have a heart attack. His head was about to explode. But boy, does he know what he's talking about. And they don't talk like that on CNN. They don't talk like that on MSNBC. You know, they sanitize war and war crimes. Why are we in Iraq still? Why did we really bomb this guy? Why did we pull out of the Iran nuclear deal? Why? I mean, Trump, I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Trump, but at least he's honest. He says, take the oil. That's why. He says, take the oil. That's why we're doing all this. And lives will be lost. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So, from that depressing story, let's move on to 2020 campaign. There was new polls that just came out. As you know, I take every poll with a grain of salt. I also think with most of these polls, there is an undersampled and possibly not even surveyed 1 or 2% that is being not shown for Bernie Sanders. Obviously, Bernie Sanders' campaign's major strategy here is to target non-voters, target people who have never voted before, first-time voters, younger voters. So every poll you see, if they're succeeding in that, which from what I'm hearing, they are registering a ton of new voters in Iowa and New Hampshire, those people are not going to show up on a poll. So every poll I'm looking at, I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to add at least 1% to each one of these polls for Bernie. So you're looking at this new, CBS YouGov, and you have right here, Iowa, three-way tie between Bernie, middle-class Joe himself, Mayor CIA Pete Buttigieg, and Warren. Ooh, boy, look what happens when you show you have no conviction. Down to 16%. And Amy, Midwestern Nice, Amy Klobuchar, she's surging. Did you see the New York Times piece? The Democrat that could beat Donald Trump, surging at 7%. So, margin of error, 3.8%. So essentially, you just got a coin toss here between Bernie, Biden, Buttigieg. I think what you're seeing here is, we got to remember here, Iowa is a caucus. There's also weather that is involved. It is often snowing. It is often very, very cold in Iowa in the beginning of February. So not only do you need to convince people to vote for you, you also have to convince people to come out and vote for you, which I'm about to show you. We'll see who has the excitement and who is attracting people's dedication and loyalty, not just to decide they want to vote for you, but to actually decide they're going to come out and caucus for you. So that's Iowa. New Hampshire, Bernie, up 2%. Biden, second place, 25%. Warren, again, sliding as fast as she moonwalked on Medicare for All, is as fast as she has fallen. 18%. Margin of error, 5%. So, there is a big margin of error, but I believe when you look at the increase here, look at November. Bernie has gone up. That is 13 points. Bernie Sanders is up among liberal voters. That's Democratic voters. 13 points. Bernie Sanders went up in New Hampshire. And look at the corresponding slide. Elizabeth Warren down. That is down 15 points. Well, I'm no political scientist, but my guess is what the voters Warren lost went mostly to Bernie Sanders there. Bernie Sanders is the biggest increase from November to now in New Hampshire. Up 13 points. Warren down 15 points. Biden up 3 points. Buttigieg down 4 points. What I find interesting here, Iowa excitement. Sanders, 67% of his supporters say they are excited and enthusiastic about their vote choice. Warren, 61%, Buttigieg, 52%, and Biden all the way down at 49%. So that's what we call the Biden broccoli vote in Iowa. Eat your broccoli. Not a lot of excitement for middle-class Joe in Iowa. That's Iowa. But to me, the biggest thing is not Iowa. Look at New Hampshire. Which of these qualities do you feel describe Joe Biden? Check all that apply. Exciting, 8%. 8% of New Hampshire voters polled are excited about Joe Biden. 39% are excited about Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren has 37%. So Joe Biden, the polls might show he's at 25%, but that's 25% of people who say they would vote for him. That's not the same thing as I'm going to come out and do it. Excitement, 8% for the last vice president of the United Corporations of America. Does that not tell you something, folks? Does that not tell you something? He's in last place in terms of excitement in Iowa. Why is that important in Iowa? Because Iowa is different. You have to not just convince them to vote for you, you have to convince them to come out, not just to wait on a line, but to caucus for you. That could be an hour to 2 hour process, caucuses. Most of them don't know what it is. He's at 49% enthusiasm in Iowa. He's at 8% excitement, enthusiasm in New Hampshire. That ain't good. Still, though, because of the corporate media propaganda, Biden is considered, among Iowa voters at least, the most safe voice. What is this based on? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Actually, there's a great piece in The Guardian right now detailing why Joe Biden is in fact not electable against Donald Trump. But like they did in 2016, like they did in 2004, with John Kerry saying he's more electable than Howard Dean, like they did in 2000, saying Al Gore's the most electable. All of these people who are constantly wrong about quote-unquote electability, all these people that are constantly wrong about what voters in certain parts of the country want, primarily the Midwest, are telling us, the voters of Iowa, the voters of New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, California, Joe Biden is the most electable of all of them. Thank you for the super chat. M. Mackable, $2. Additional win for Trump. Scare the populace. Joe Biden is not more electable than Bernie Sanders. In fact, I don't even think Joe Biden is more electable than Elizabeth Warren. I'm not sure Joe Biden is more electable than Mayor CIA. Because Joe Biden is exactly the type of candidate that Donald Trump excels against. Joe Biden is a candidate that will allow Donald Trump to cancel out his own corruption. Joe Biden is the kind of candidate that will allow Donald Trump to muddy the waters on the fact that he has sold out to the working class. Donald Trump gave a tax cut, which 83% of it went to rich people. Donald Trump just pushed through a new NAFTA, which is going to offshore more jobs. Donald Trump is cutting food stamps and welfare. But the problem is, Joe Biden has supported and pushed many policies that are exactly similar to what Trump is doing. Oh, by the way, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, Joe Biden, they keep, and I hope Bernie's campaign is listening to this. You know, you don't pay me, but here's some free advice. It's not just that Joe Biden voted for the Iraq War. It's not just that Joe Biden helped whip votes for the Iraq War, that he actively pushed Democrats to vote for it. Months after the war started, when it was already evident that this was a giant catastrophe, when top Democrats were suddenly starting to moonwalk and say, this is a disaster, we were wrong, Joe Biden is on tape months after the war started, praising President Bush and saying we need to stay the course, which I'm going to play for you in a little bit. So, if as a leader, you make a mistake, that's one thing. That is a big effing mistake to make. To send us to war based on no intelligence. They didn't even send inspectors in before they launched the war. But if you make a mistake as a leader, are you intuitive enough? Are you introspective enough? Are you not stubborn enough to recognize, wow, this was a giant catastrophe. This is a giant cluster beep, trying not to get demonetized, and quickly change course? Well, I'm about to show you, not so with Joe Biden. Thank you for the super chat. Half a ball, $5 in the super chat. Happy New Year's. Do you think Castro's endorsement will help Warren in the long run, or is it too late? Keep up the great work. No, I don't think it makes any difference. Oh, did I miss a super chat? I don't think it makes a difference in the world. I think Castro finished at polling at 1 point something percent. No, I think Castro is hoping that Warren gets resuscitated out of her current coma and maybe gets vice president consideration, but maybe it helps on the margins with Latino voters. But I mean, what did Latino voters do for Julian Castro? He couldn't get past 1 or 1.5, 2%. So, no. But of course, Nate Silver tweeted it out, comparing Julian Castro endorsing Warren to Ocasio-Cortez endorsing Bernie. So they're going to try to make it something. And by the way, I will be tomorrow covering a Warren event here in New York. So I will be out interviewing Warren supporters. Stay tuned for more on that. Thank you for the super chat, Haifa Ball. Thank you for the super chat, PJ Coin, 950 euros. Good luck, Jordan and team, for 2020. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. My friends in across the pond. I hope Boris Johnson hasn't sold your health insurance yet. Karen Webster, $2 in the super chat. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. So, other things in this poll that I think are very important. Best to beat Trump. Again, the media has brainwashed people. Even though Bernie is leading, is right there at the top of Iowa, right there leading in New Hampshire, very, very competitive in Nevada. Last poll in South Carolina had him down only 7 points. Literally had 300,000 new donors sign up. Forget the money for a second. He had 300,000 new donors donate to him in the last 3 months of 2019. They keep saying, oh, Bernie has a ceiling. He can't get past his base. Well, that's 300 new people. 300,000 new people. They're not, those are either new voters or Bernie supporters that never donated, whatever. That's called expanding your base. Yet, the corporate media has conditioned people to think Joe Biden, who is Hillary Clinton with a penis, will beat Donald Trump. It defies common sense. It defies logic. But to me, the biggest thing here, folks, and the media hasn't been discussing this, but it's possible. Nevada is before South Carolina. So you have the Iowa caucus, you have the New Hampshire primary, you have the Nevada caucus, and then the South Carolina primary. It's possible that Joe Biden is going to lose the first 3 votes and contests. If his campaign wants to chalk up Iowa and New Hampshire, if he loses, to, oh, well, they're mostly white, they're not a true representation of America, and we have a monopoly on the black vote, so try and play out losing Iowa and New Hampshire. Well, Nevada is not all white. Nevada has a significant Latino population. It also has, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but a healthy black population. How is it that if Joe Biden were to lose the first 3 contests, and I got news for you, if he loses Iowa, if he loses New Hampshire, there's a good chance he's going to lose Nevada, because there's a thing called momentum. And if the former vice president, the last vice president, cannot win in Iowa and New Hampshire, he possibly could come in 3rd in Iowa or New Hampshire or both. From what I've been told, his campaign doesn't have the ground game that Warren has or Bernie has. So he's going to have to pray that every single old person that he's depending on comes out in Iowa and New Hampshire. If Joe Biden loses Iowa and New Hampshire, there's a good chance he's going to lose Nevada too. Then, I don't think he would lose South Carolina. He has a commanding lead. It really would be tough to imagine him losing. But if he loses the first 3 states, there's a very good chance that his victory in South Carolina will not even be by double digits. There's a very good chance that his victory could be like the poll that we just saw. 7 points Bernie is down in the last poll in South Carolina. How is Joe Biden's electability argument, which is his only argument to become president? He has no policies. His only policy that I know of is expanding Obamacare with a public option. That's it. It's the same thing as Hillary Clinton. There's a lot of bumper stickers, restoring the soul of America, restoring normalcy, yada, yada, yada. There's no policy. There is no signature economic plan. There is no coherent economic vision. It's all return to normalcy. If Hillary was save us from demise, save us from Armageddon, Biden is return to normalcy, aka corruption in the back room, rather than openly expressed on Twitter. He doesn't have any bold policies. He's not for the Green New Deal. He's not for Medicare for all. He's not for free public college. He's not for ending private prisons. He's talked about accelerating cancer research. That's nice, but that's not a policy. That's a bumper sticker. And I'm not trying to play politics with war in Iran, because obviously there are bigger implications than the campaign, but it is my job to tell you how the campaign could be impacted. I got news for you folks. This is not a good thing for Joe Biden that foreign policy is now in the lead, because Bernie Sanders' campaign, in the previous debates, Bernie has brought up that Joe Biden voted for the Iraq war, but Iraq was, almost 2 decades ago. It matters to us, but to the average voter, they might say, okay, well, that was a long time ago, and it might not bother them as much. But now that we're basically at war with Iran, Joe Biden will be more under the microscope. And fortunately, I love to criticize them, but credit to CNN, they're finally fact-checking Joe Biden's bullshit. Oh! Demonetized. I went like an hour without cursing. Swear jar if you can. Help us out. Joe Biden says, again, dishonestly suggests he opposed the Iraq war from the beginning. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden dishonestly suggested on Saturday that he had opposed the war in Iraq from the very moment it began in 2003, even though Biden's campaign said in September that he misspoke when he made a similar claim. Biden was responding Saturday to a voter in Des Moines, Iowa, who told him, I'm with you 90% of the way, but questioned his judgment in part because you were for the second Gulf War, which was a mess. Biden said, quote, from the very moment President George W. Bush launched his shock and awe military campaign, and right after that occurred, I opposed what he was doing and spoke to him. It's false that Biden opposed the war from the moment Bush started it in March 2003. Biden repeatedly spoke in favor of the war both before and after it began. Biden's language on Saturday, saying he opposed what he was doing at the moment the war commenced, was more vague than his language in September, when he flatly said he had opposed the war at that moment. But the new version was highly misleading, even under the most generous interpretation. So, good on CNN. It's about time. Some actual reporting to show that Joe Biden's full of it. Here is Joe Biden, not in March 2003, July 2003. We launched war in Iraq in March 2003. This is Joe Biden, July 2003. That would be April, May, June, July. 4 months after the war started in Iraq. Does this sound like he's against it 4 months after the war? Does that sound like Joe Biden opposed? Oh, is that no audio the whole time? Oh boy. Oh boy. Sorry, folks. I do need a producer. Let me get it back for you.
Now, for Brookings Institution this morning and offered some of his own ideas on the reconstruction effort. This is about an hour and 15 minutes.
That it's our national interest to stay the course, a view that I strongly hold. Some of my own party have said that it was a mistake to go to Iraq in the first place, and believe that it's not worth the cost, whatever benefit may flow from our engagement in Iraq. But the cost of not acting against Saddam, I think, would have been much greater. And so is the cost, and so will be the cost, of not finishing this job. The President of the United States is a bold leader, and he is popular. The stakes are high, and the need for leadership is great. I wish he'd use some of his stored up popularity to make what I admit is not a very popular case. But I and many others will support him when he makes the case. I wish the president, instead of standing in front of an aircraft carrier in front of a banner 7 years ago, several months ago, saying mission accomplished, had stood in front of a banner that said, we've only just begun. Because that would have been the truth. That they are the facts. I also wish he would stand in front of the American people very shortly and say something to the effect, my fellow Americans, we have a long and hard road ahead of us in Iraq, but we must stay in Iraq. We have to finish the job.
Does that sound like being against the Iraq War as soon as it launched? I got to tell you, I don't know, God bless him, but why doesn't Bernie Sanders' campaign put this out? I've never seen Bernie Sanders' campaign put out this video. It's right there. He's literally praising President Bush months after this immoral, horrendous, evil, illegal war. Like, what are you doing, Bernie's campaign? Get with the program here. Bernie, during the debates, says, you voted for the Iraq War. He didn't just vote for the Iraq War. He pushed the vote for the Iraq War. He got other Democrats to vote for the Iraq War, which is called whipping the votes. And after the fact, when it was a giant, colossal clusterfuck, he's right there on tape saying, we need to stay the course. President Bush is, I forget exactly what he said, a great leader. He's very popular. He needs to use his popularity. I got news for you folks. If that was his judgment, he's 76 right now. That was about 17 years ago. If that was his judgment in his 60s, he's now 76. You know, as you get older, your judgment, you kind of get more set in your ways. Would you say that's correct, darling? You kind of get more set in your ways as you get older. So, what's President Biden going to do when he messes up? What's President Biden going to do when he makes a mistake on foreign policy? He's going to double down. How do we know? Because when he wasn't president, and he was supposed to be in the opposition party, he was carrying George W. Bush's briefcase. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. So I hope Bernie's campaign is listening. I hope they put out this clip, because you know what? It's one thing to be wrong. If you're wrong initially about voting for the war, if you're wrong initially about pushing the war, yeah, you have to defend that. But if you then, after it was it didn't take 2 years after the war was launched to realize this is a major disaster. It took a few weeks. You remember? Cheney said they'll greet us as liberators. Rumsfeld went on television saying, oh, it might take 3 weeks to a month. This is going to be a quick operation. It didn't take long if you had a brain. So, if you don't know, we do have Marcus Ely out in Iowa. He is covering Biden events, Klobuchar events, Warren events. We're going to send him over to Yang's events. Maybe Booker, obviously Bernie, Tulsi if she's there. He's been getting great stuff. For the 560 of you watching, straight up, we can't keep him out there unless you help us do it. We are at 766 Status Coup members. You could become a Status Coup member for as low as a cup of coffee per month. That's $5 a month. we will be having our monthly members call Thursday. So as a member, you get to join us on our video call. It's not through YouTube, it's through Zoom. So if you're a member already, you know all about it. We didn't do one in December, so we owe you double this month. So we're doing our members call, our first one of the month. We're going to be doing Thursday, 7:30 Eastern Time. That's 4:30 Pacific. 7:30 Eastern Time. That's 4:30 Pacific. It will be myself, Jen, and we're hoping, if there's not a rally, Marcus will join us so he could give you a little behind the scenes of his reporting there in Iowa. Definitely sign up, folks. I know it was just the holiday season, so you might be a little tapped out. A lot of you are donating, whether it's Bernie, Tulsi, whomever your candidate is. So if you don't have money, that's fine. You could obviously support us by sharing our content, subscribing to the channel. But if you have $5 a month, we have other plans too. You can become a member for as low as $10 a month. We have an annual plan, which isn't monthly. It's $179 annually. The more people that sign up as a member, the more funding we'll have. And it's expensive. Obviously we have to pay Marcus just for being there. The apartment that we put him up in, it costs us at this point $800 for the month. There's gas, which we'd like to pay for all of his gas, but at this point we can't. So definitely sign up as a member, because unlike a lot of outlets out there, frankly, and I saw this when I was at the Young Turks, there's no other outlets doing and covering the amount of events that we are covering. CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times, they're at these events, but they're not actually covering it. They're in the back tweeting. They're not interviewing actual voters. They're not challenging any of these supporters, voters' false understandings of their policies, misconceptions, borderline racist comments. And they're certainly not challenging the candidates like I'm about to show you Marcus did. So definitely, for those of you who say, Jordan, stop asking for money, then go away. If you want real reporting, the money doesn't grow on trees. We got to fund it. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. And if you missed it, Marcus actually, I doubt we're going to be invited back to any Klobuchar events, but Marcus had the chutzpah to go in the back of the rally and challenge Senator Amy Klobuchar, Midwest nice Amy Klobuchar, who accepted $1,000 from Linda Fairstein. For those of you that don't know, Linda Fairstein was the prosecutor who put in jail the Central Park Five. If you're not from New York, the Central Park Five were 5 young black men who were arrested for allegedly beating and raping a young woman in Central Park. I believe it was in 1980s, maybe the early 90s. Donald Trump put a front page advertisement in the newspaper to give him the death penalty, and they were innocent. And it came out that they were innocent. Ava DuVernay, a wonderful filmmaker, did a great show on Netflix about the Central Park Five called When They See Us. Rob R., you haven't read my super chat. Oh man, I keep missing these super chats. Hold up. Rob R., $1.99. Are you going to ask EW supporters if they support the new NAFTA? I'd be surprised if they even knew what NAFTA was, but you better believe I will, Rob. Among other things, I will be asking them. Yes. So we will be asking. I'll also be asking them, what do you think of her moonwalking faster than Michael Jackson on Medicare for All? So stay tuned. Denise Columbia, Jordan needs a sound crew. I need a raise. We do need a sound crew. We need a lot of things. But actually, we just need to put up a sign that I could see. Don't forget to unmute your mic. That's what we need. But thank you for the kind super chat. So Linda Fairstein, not only was she the prosecutor that imprisoned these black men with trumped up advice, coerced confessions. The police basically put words in these young, scared, threatened black men's mouth to basically convince them to confess to crimes they didn't commit. I really encourage you. It's not a fun watch. When They See Us on Netflix. It was very upsetting. I watched 2 episodes. I didn't finish it. But she still to this day defends imprisoning these 5 men who were exonerated. They were found innocent. She still defends it. And Amy Klobuchar took $1,000 from Linda Fairstein. Now, some of you might say, well, Jordan Sheridan, we're talking millions of dollars. Amy Klobuchar raised $12 million in the last 3 months. How do we know she really knows every person that's donating to her campaign? I could tell you, I've never worked in politics, but I know people that have, and I also cover this. Campaigns, anybody who donates over $500, campaigns pay attention to. Because campaigns then reach out to those people to say thank you, but also hit them up for more. Yeah, campaigns might not know all the 15, 20, 30, 40, but anyone who donates over $500, the campaigns know who's donating. Often, the candidates themselves are working certain donors before they donate. I don't know if that was the case with Linda Fairstein, but Amy Klobuchar knows who Linda Fairstein is. Thank you for the super chat. Cheryl Tyler, $10. Marcus was fearless with Klobuchar. Incredible reporting. So enough of my chatterbox. Let's show you Marcus challenging Senator Klobuchar, and we'll talk about it after.
Do you have any comment on the donation that you took from Linda Fairstein? No comment at all in regards to taking $1,000 from the person that put the Central Park 5 behind bars for all that time?
Yeah, we have, it's my understanding that the campaign returned that donation today, and that is the right thing to do.
The Guardian reports that it hasn't been returned.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I'm the press. I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, I'm the candidate, and I directed my campaign to return that donation today, and they have done it.
All right, thank you.
Marcus Ely here for Status Coup, and the video you just watched was me questioning Amy Klobuchar over a $1,000 donation she took from Linda Fairstein. This video was taken immediately after the Guardian piece had been broken, which initially broke the story. So I get a text message, I'm backstage watching her interview with local news, and I get this text message from my boss that includes the piece that shows that she took a donation. And I asked her immediately, as a member of the press, I have a responsibility to ask her questions because she had not yet responded for comment to the Guardian piece. Later, she did. The piece has been updated with a comment saying that she has given the money back. But Amy Klobuchar's campaign still has a lot of questions to answer. Why was this money taken in the first place? For those of you that don't know, Linda Fairstein is the prosecutor that led the task force that got coerced confessions out of the 5 little boys that would later grow on to be known as the exonerated 5. I want to say the Central Park 5, but that's not the term we use for them anymore. We now say the exonerated 5. So her taking that donation, she has, in the first place, her campaign has a lot of questions to answer because Linda Fairstein has been removed from the board of a lot of nonprofits. She's been dropped from her publisher, rebuked by the culture at large. And Amy Klobuchar herself was also a prosecutor. So there's a lot of questions and intersections and accountability that has to be brought in regards to a system that would allow her to. So there's a lot of questions in general, and I'll be keeping up with this story. If I'm allowed anywhere near Amy Klobuchar's campaign again, I will ask the questions. But there are a lot of questions that need to be answered by Amy Klobuchar and her campaign going forward.
Bravo, bravo, bravo to the kind sir. That was great. That was great. And boy, is Amy Klobuchar so lucky. Pete Buttigieg, by the way, got lucky too, because we broke a big story on Pete Buttigieg, but of course Trump got impeached that night, so it didn't get around much. But Amy Klobuchar takes Linda Fairstein's money, but of course Trump had to launch a war the same day, so it kind of didn't get that much attention. It's still worth it. It's still great that Marcus confronted her and challenged her. By the way, let me explain how that works, and bravo to Colin Tooley with the wonderful In the Trenches graphic. But let me tell you something. Amy Klobuchar didn't give the donation back out of morality. She got caught. And by the way, credit, we didn't catch her. The Guardian caught her. I saw the Guardian article. Marcus was at a Klobuchar event when I saw it, so I sent it to Marcus, and he was like, oh, I got to go in on this. I was like, fantastic. But, you know, it's not like Amy Klobuchar just decided to give this money back. It's the same thing with Joe Biden returning money because he got caught taking money from lobbyists. Or Pete Buttigieg giving money back because he got caught taking money from fossil fuel fuckers. They're not giving it back out of morality. They're giving it back so it doesn't become a bigger thing. But let's just zero in on this a little bit more. And Marcus could obviously speak to it a little better than me. You know, I'm a white dude, so obviously I don't have the experience that Marcus has had. But this is money they took. And yes, they knew who Linda Fairstein was. They took the money. They knew. She still actively defends her prosecution against these 5 black now men. They were young, they were teenagers when this happened. She still actively defends it, even though they were shown to be innocent. Jordan, she said the campaign returned it. We only could take her at her word. Yes, I'll just take her at her word. The Amy Klobuchar that literally lobbied to make sure that frozen pizza would remain classified as a vegetable so that it would stay in your children's school cafeterias. Why? Because one of her big donors was from the frozen pizza industry. So don't tell me to trust Amy Klobuchar, Minnesota nice, who, by the way, look through old videos I've done, she sounds like a Republican. Oh, they like Bernie because they like free stuff. Thank you for the super chat. Just a girl, $4.99. Could you get on another platform to share the Pete story? It's so important to get that out. Just a girl, if only you could see how many people I've reached out to on that Pete story. All we can do is try. Just a girl. All we can do is try. I have reached out to a lot of different folks, but the thing is, when you're sending out these stories and there's so much other stuff going on, Trump impeachment that the rest of the media is glued to and obsessed with. Now Trump starting a war with Iran. Obviously the day-to-day of the campaign. All these other media outlets, even though I send it to them. I've sent a lot of these stories, by the way. I love them. It's not a knock, but I've sent these stories to Jimmy. I've sent these stories to Crystal Ball with The Hill, who does a great show. Kyle Kalinske. So I'm sending these stories out to the very people that would most likely cover it. I don't, whether they have us on or not as guests is fine. We'd like it, but it's not. It's okay if they don't. If they just want to cover it without having us on. But I'm sending it. But you could only bring. What do they say? We could only bring you to the river. You got to drink yourself. So we're sending it. I'm trying to get these stories picked up. I sent Marcus's video where he challenged Klobuchar out all over the place. And I think on Twitter it's got 17,000 views. So we're slowly chipping away here, thankfully. Carla Curley, $10 in the super chat. Thank you with the cool sticker. Thank you. But I want to show you one more Marcus video because this shows you how valuable actual aggressive in the field reporting is. Actual aggressive in the field reporting. Okay? Marcus interviewed an Elizabeth Warren supporter. I don't think he was rude to her or mean, but he challenged her. He challenged her because a lot of what we try to do as progressive journalists in the field, which, by the way, it's not cheap. We could only fund Marcus through Iowa. That's it. Unfortunately, we don't have the money to pay him past that. So that's why we're trying to grow our membership. I just put the link in the super chat. It's $5 a month, $10 a month. You could become a member for $179 annually, but it isn't cheap. Marcus got 3 children, okay? Got to pay him, got to pay Jen, got to pay Colin. I need to eat. We have travel expenses. Then there's money to advertise. So that's why we're trying to grow. That's why we're trying to grow. You can become a member if not everybody's a member watching. So if you got $5 a month for in-the-field aggressive reporting, support us. And as a member, you'll get invited to our call, which is this Thursday, our video call. By the way, you don't have to be on video if you don't want to be. The call is through Zoom. I will be on video. Jen will be on video, but you don't have to be on video. You could mute your video, so you could ask us questions, but nobody has to see your face if you're not comfortable with that. So don't worry about that part. Reeve Barker, super chat, $5. See the CNBC graphic that put Gillibrand pick in place of Tulsi and some random Asian guy in place of Yang? I did see that, and honestly, I wish I was surprised. I really do. I really do. I'll give CNBC at least the benefit of the doubt because this is the only time I've seen them screw up a graphic. CNN, it's deliberate because they've screwed up at least 20 graphics. MSNBC, it's deliberate because they have screwed up at least 20 graphics. CNBC, this is the first time I've seen it, so the Asian thing is a little bit more disconcerting because it's like, oh, you just found some random Asian guy. But how do you confuse Tulsi Gabbard with Kirsten Gillibrand? Not even close. Grow our membership means send me money for meth or free stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. It's a good comment. So let me show you another great interview Marcus did, this time challenging an Elizabeth Warren supporter who doesn't really understand why she's even supporting Elizabeth Warren. Let's take a look.
Marcus Ely here for Status Coup, and I'm here with Rachel Compton. And we're here at the Warren event. I'm going to turn the camera just a tad so y'all can see the huge crowd. So it's a really big crowd, really big turnout for Elizabeth Warren. Are you a Warren supporter, or did you just come to hear her today?
I'm to hear her, but I'm also very interested in her policies. So I like to hear kind of all about the candidates, but I like that she's a woman and she's running for president. I think it's really interesting and important for us. So.
And then what about her policies in specific do you like?
I like her living wage policy, and I would say that's probably the main one because I know how hard it can be to make money. So, I mean, especially when you don't have a career, like if you go to college and you can't or something. So I like that she has that in place.
So what other candidates are you looking at right now?
I'm looking at Joe Biden. I would say that would be the main one. I actually went to the Sanders one today at Dubuque Senior High School, but I would say probably Biden and Warren. Yeah.
And then what about Sanders? Was there anything that turned you off, or?
Not particularly. It seemed like some of his math was off for some of the. I can't remember the specific issue he was talking about, but it didn't make me really believe that what he was doing was going to help us. And I'm really interested to see with Warren, in person, and see how.
So what in specific, what math are we talking about?
I think he was talking about, I believe it was the Medicare for all. And he just didn't seem like he gave a clear plan for how he was going to pay for it, but Warren, I believe, kind of has. So,
Warren's plan today. Earlier, she spoke today, and she talked about. Somebody asked her a question, and in regards to getting to full Medicare for all, she's going to start out with a public option, and that's going to be a fight in itself. And then she's going to turn around in year 3, which will be an election year, and she'll be gearing up for an election. Because more often than not, history shows you lose houses of Congress after the president gets elected. So she will probably not have both houses of Congress. And then she's going to try to fight through Congress for Medicare for all, which that sounds a lot less realistic on its face, don't you think?
It does at some point. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that, too. So.
I mean, there's that, but also like we just had the stuff with Iran that's going on. Nobody's asked how we're going to pay for any of that. That's we thought we thought Iraq was a quagmire and Afghanistan was a quagmire. Iran's bigger than both of them combined, and it's got a bigger GDP.
And I believe that needs to be asked about, because that's not something that we can just push aside. Like, we need to know how we can pay for what we have part in that too. So I agree with that.
Would you agree with the framing that is a giveaway to the defense industry, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and all the others, GE and others that build all these weapons of war? That's like literally a free giveaway to them?
Giveaway, like they're not paying for
Meaning that they're the ones that benefit from all those bombs that we drop. When we send boots on the ground, they literally build the boots, and they get money for all those things. So would you agree that framing that is a free giveaway for the defense industry?
I would, yes. Yeah, because if they're the ones making the supplies that the soldiers are using, then I do agree with that.
So then in that case, who we have to decide, and I totally am upfront because it's American politics. It affects me. I cannot not be biased. I'm not going to lie like other media and pretend objectivity. That's a joke. I also have my media degree too and took a couple letter grades on some assignments because of that. But seriously, like the idea that we as a country have decided, how do you feel as an American? Like there's literally blood on your hands because we've decided that we're going to go bomb all these other countries instead of giving our people health care. 30,000 people a year die from preventable causes. We have the opioid crisis going on. We have folks in literal slavery in prisons. We have student debt being where it is. We have the the mortality rates for black women being where they are. You know what I mean? And then we turn around and we have spent all this money on these things. And literally as an American taxpayer, that blood is on your hands. How do you feel as an American looking at that?
I am not happy about it because I feel like, in Iowa, it's hard to feel like you're a part of the whole country when, it's just such a small percentage of it. And to know that, like you said, it's kind of on my hands and I can't really decide how my tax dollars are paying that money is really aggravating, and feel like, I don't have a lot of say in it, even when, it's my money that I'm being forced to give, which if that part's tax is fine with me, but it's what it's being used for, and it's aggravating to just feel like I can't do anything about it, because I agree that some of it needs to go to other causes to save lives, and so I agree with that.
My hand's bloody too. It looks like they're about to start here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, but thank you so much.
Awesome. That's Marcus. And that's how it's done, folks. You don't have to be nasty. We don't have to hit them over the head. I certainly have a penchant for hitting some folks over the head, figuratively, of course, particularly Trump supporters. But then again, I had it out with some Hillary folks, too, in 2016. But the thing is, obviously Marcus is not, we're not there to elect Bernie Sanders, right? I don't work with Bernie's campaign. Some people have said email Bernie's campaign. No, that's not the role of a journalist, but we are there to basically in real time fact check not just the candidates but their supporters, but also expose and show when people's decisions for who they're going to vote for are based on their facts being wrong. And 9 times out of 10, their facts are wrong because either the corporate media has misinformed them or the corporate media has not informed them at all. So this nice young woman, no issue with her, very nice. Seems like she was kind of between Warren and Biden, hadn't made up her mind. But she is under the assumption that Warren's plan is better because it's more in steps and this and that. But none of them are like, wait a minute. Forget Medicare for all. It would be difficult for a candidate to get a public option through this Congress. It's not easy to get even a public option through. So you're going to get a public option through. This is what Elizabeth Warren says. She's going to get a public option through Congress right away. Then that public option, which by the way is not even Medicare, you have to pay a premium to get into the public option, and it's not capital M Medicare for all. So she's saying it will give people more time to experience Medicare and how great it is. But a public option isn't Medicare because the public option prices will not be as low as costs would be under Medicare, because under a public option there's still the private health insurance industry, and that means the government is not the sole provider, the single payer. If you understand what I'm saying. So Elizabeth Warren is selling fairy dust that we're going to get a public option done, and then after the midterms, which if history tells you anything, the president's party usually loses at least one house of Congress or both houses of Congress, then she's going to suddenly get Medicare for all passed. Oh, by the way, when her approvals are down, because they're always down in year 3 as compared to year 1. Oh, by the way, a year before she's up for re-election, she's then going to take on the fight for Medicare for all. Give me a effing break. And Marcus didn't mention this. I might have mentioned this, but her math doesn't even make any sense. She's the one with a plan for everything, down to the nickel. Her getting Medicare for all through, and how she's, quote, going to pay for it, so she won't have to. She says, I'm not going to raise taxes on middle class people. Her plan is based on assuming comprehensive immigration reform is going to pass Congress. Hasn't happened yet. Does Elizabeth Warren have a magic Harry Potter stick that I don't know about? And her plan is based on cutting the defense budget, I believe, by 30%. She's going to get that through Congress too? These are all, they called Bernie Sanders in 2016 and now, oh, it's so pie in the sky. Elizabeth Warren is proposing stuff that is actually not realistic. So good job on Marcus for challenging that voter. I will be at a Warren event tomorrow here in New York. I believe I'm going to be going up there on Friday too to New Hampshire. She's got some events in New Hampshire. And by the way, a little behind the scenes, doesn't look like we'll be able to cover in the field, at least getting invited in. We got kicked off Mayor Pete's email list. Isn't that interesting? After we break a big story on Mayor Pete's police officers imitating Klansmen while arresting a black man, and we reached out to Mayor Pete's campaign multiple times with them not responding, just to get a comment. And after we went to his debate watch party in South Bend, because you guys funded us to be there, and, took photos and video. They told us not to, but, journalists aren't supposed to sit there and, listen to the politicians. Supposed to challenge the politicians. All of a sudden, they took us off Mayor Pete's campaign's email list. And the email list, sends out where the candidate's going to be, what day, what time, and has a link for the press if you want to apply for credentials to get into the events. So we've emailed you, if you're watching, Pete, we've emailed you several times saying, did my invitation get lost in the mail? Did you accidentally take me off the email list? So it's a downer. It's a downer. We're probably going to have to just create a new email, I guess. I don't know. But, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't particularly want to drive up to New Hampshire without knowing if I can even get into an event. It's like a 4.5-hour drive. So they've taken us off their email list, which kind of shows you, how would this guy operate as president? If a journalist breaks a story not so kind to you, you're just going to block the journalist from continuing to cover you? Sounds like somebody I know. So that's the status of our coverage of Mayor Pete. Guessing Marcus is no longer invited into Klobuchar events, but that's okay. I mean, I don't think anybody in the world is dying for more coverage of Amy Klobuchar's candidacy. But Marcus will definitely be covering Biden. He is covering a Cory Booker event tomorrow, which, Booker's technically still running. But he's definitely going to be covering more of Warren. And we also want to cover some local stories in Iowa, because obviously Iowa, the local things and things that are important to citizens in Iowa are going to dictate part of who they vote for. So we're going to try to cover some local stories in Iowa, and we're also going to try to cover the actual nitty-gritty of the campaign. Hopefully get some interviews with Bernie's campaign and their officials to see, take us through, like, what are you doing to register new voters? Could you show us? Could we come cover and shoot some of you guys knocking on doors? So that's what we're hoping for Marcus to do. But I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We got to grow. We got 2 new members so far today, so that's great. Welcome Jason and Morgan, new Status Coup members. So we are now at 768. 768 Status Coup members. We really need to get this up more. It's also been a little difficult with YouTube and kind of hiding our content in a cave. But if you like this content, obviously it's free on YouTube. But money don't grow on trees. It's not. It is not expensive. It is not cheap to have a reporter out there. There's paying the reporter. There's the hotel, in this case apartment we put them up in, gas and other expenses. So definitely, if you value this reporting, frankly, I don't see any other outlets doing this level of in the field reporting on the campaign trail. I could be wrong, but I don't even think the Young Turks is doing it that much anymore, and they got a lot more resources than I do. So definitely, if you value this reporting, if you want to see more of it, definitely sign up. That's statuscoup.com/join. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Marcus, for that great reporting out there. And I will see you back here tomorrow. Hopefully there's not more developments that lead to war. But I'll be live if there's more developments. Just the Girl, is Patreon the same thing? Great question. Our patrons and our members get the same exact content, and our patrons also get invited to our monthly members call, which, by the way, our members call is this Thursday, 7:30 Eastern time. So if you're a member, sign up. Basically, the only difference is going forward, for people that are patrons now, you could stay a patron, no problem. But if somebody hasn't signed up for anything, we prefer you to sign up for membership on our website. Patreon is a third-party platform. We don't know if, Patreon could go belly up in 6 months for all we know. So we want to rely on our own website, which we're in control of. So that's why we ask people to sign up as a member on our website. But it's the same exact thing. You get the same content, and patrons and members get invited to our monthly members call. So there's the link, statuscoup.com/join. Cup of coffee a month, $5 a month. You could join us. Edie Ioro, am I mispronouncing it? Edie Iorio, $9.99. I love Mark. I hope Marcus stays. Super chats for Marcus. Hey, Edie, let me tell you something. And Jen would be mad at me if I said this, but I'm going to keep it real. Edie, you just gave us $9.99 in the super chat, which I really appreciate. Let's say you are not a member currently, Edie. I don't want to say, because of course we got plenty of monthly members who also leave super chats. But if you said to me, hey Jordan, what would you prefer? I can't do both. Would you rather me sign up monthly as a member or leave a super chat once in a blue moon? I'd rather you sign up monthly as a member. So I'm not saying take back that super chat, Edie, but if you got that $9.99, technically $10 a month, because we have $5 levels membership, $10 levels, consider signing up as a member, and I'll tell you why, and then I'm going to end. Membership is so important. Not only does membership help us fund things now, but I'll give you an example. I'm not going to say who, but I got in touch with an athlete today, a professional athlete. I don't want to say which league, but a professional athlete. Oh, you are a member, Edie. So I'm preaching to the choir. Well, than anyone else who's listening who might leave super chats once in a blue moon. Thank you for signing up, Edie. I'm talking to a professional athlete right now. Okay, he is a progressive, really into social justice. I didn't even know, but like his on Twitter, his DMs are open, and I saw that he retweeted one of our things. So I just reached out to him and I said, "Hey, thanks for the retweet. Would love to send you some more stuff." Obviously, professional athletes tend to make a couple dollars. So I sent, and he's like, "Oh, Jordan, I love your stuff. I knew you from the Young Turks, blah, blah, blah." So we started talking, and I just sent him more information. But it's very helpful if we're reaching out to, whether it's athletes, whether it's progressive influencers with large followings and larger wallets. It's very helpful if I could say to them, "Hey, look, not only, I'm not some schmuck on YouTube, but we have a growing business here. Because we're looking for investors, not just people who donate, but investors who invest in the business." So they're attracted to, "Oh, you guys have X amount." So between Patreon and membership, we have 1,070. How'd you guess Justin Jackson? That's crazy. We have 1,070 total members between our membership and our website on Patreon. So if I could get that up, it's more and more attractive to potential funders. So I'm not trying to bore you with the details, but people who are going to possibly invest or donate want to see, oh, they have a growing business model. They have stable money coming in. So that's all. That's why, in addition to growing our membership helps us fund Marcus and other in the field reporting, I also have a new cameraman that I got to pay. So there's a lot of expenses. We don't have a big sugar daddy. We have not had any investment from a banker, from a big oil person, from a big pharma, Silicon Valley, big real estate, Silicon, none of that. Our funding comes from you. So I hope that explains why we're pushing membership. Sometimes I get emails, "Jordan, Kyle Kalinske and this person and that person doesn't ask for money." Well, God bless Kyle. God bless Jimmy. I love them all. This isn't a knock. But we have a little higher bar to meet because we go in the field, which costs us a lot more money than being in a studio. So that's why we're pushing membership. Trust me, if I didn't have to ask for money another day in my life, I wouldn't. So that's the story. One more time, there's the link. I will see you tomorrow. Remember, most people are not lacking compassion in the United Corporations of America. Most people have no earthly idea what is going on. Peace out.